My name's Derek Brower. I'm the US energy editor, and I've been at the FT since the start of February. I've been covering energy for a lot longer, though, since the late 90s, actually, I'm ashamed to say. What I've done most of my career is write about countries that have trouble with oil, essentially. OPEC countries, many where there's violence or conflict involving oil. I covered the war in Libya, traveled through Iraq during some of the troubles there. Spent a lot of time in the Middle East and North Africa. My specialism originally was Russia. And so all of these places are very controversial geopolitically, and that was my original focus. But now I've turned to something that I think is just as exciting, if not more, which is what's going on in the US energy sector, not just oil and gas, where there's an amazing story that's emerged because of the virus and because of the Russian-Saudi price war, but also in the terms of the transition, what's happening with clean energy, what's happening with investors and what they're deciding to do around energy, what they want to back, what they don't want to back. These are stories that I think are going to define the global economy for the next few years. And so I was absolutely delighted to come back to journalism at the FT and start covering them based out of New York. I didn't start Energy Source, but I have relaunched it. It used to be a once a week newsletter that went out to about 20,000 readers. We relaunched it a few weeks ago. It's now got about 25,000 readers. It comes out twice a week. It involves original reporting, scoops, stories from the energy sector, not just about oil and gas again, but about solar, wind power, about energy transition stuff, about carbon, about Joe Biden right now and his plan for the US election, what his plan for the US economy after he hopes to win the US election. It's about the battle that's underway between investors and producers right now, and whose model of a recovery in the US oil sector really comes to dominate that space. So it's about all of that good stuff that's in energy right now, and it's really focused on the US, but it's global, and it's global because we have writers and journalists across the world who are contributing to it. We're really focusing on some of the big themes that are happening globally, but are coming to a point in the US, and those are about transition from fossil fuels to cleaner energy. It's about the recovery from the pandemic and what it looks like for the energy sector, what role energy plays in the economy after the coronavirus pandemic is dealt with. The people that read it are, generally speaking, I think, people who have a bit more interest in energy than they would normally get from the rest of the FT. Let's face it, this is slightly inside baseball. If you're an insider in the energy business, you definitely want to be reading this because it speaks to you. Literally, sometimes we speak to a lot of people on the ground, obviously, and we're constantly talking to sources and C-suite and anybody who actually is involved in the energy business, from shale to solar. The readers typically are people who might be in that business, who have real authority already in it, or who need to know, who need to trade energy, and so need the kind of gossip, the kind of inside take that we provide. As I said, it provides some scoops, should provide intelligence to help you make decisions or help people who are in the sector make decisions about how they're going to invest. And it should be provocative as well. I think the really good thing, the thing that I love about it most, is that we have such a strong team behind it. In the UK, we have David Shepherd and Angela Raval, Natalie Thomas, Leslie Hook, our clean energy correspondent. And we have a really strong team that's been covering the global energy story. In the US, we're beefing up hugely. We've got Miles McCormick, who's joined me in New York. We've got Gregory Meyer, who's already there, and we're soon to appoint somebody to Houston. So we've really expanded our network in the key energy hubs. Energy Source is not just for oil traders, people who are involved in the solar PV sector or whatever. Energy Source is a place to come to understand what's going on inside energy. And energy is the most important sector in the world. It is the lifeblood of the global economy, and it will be absolutely central to the recovery from the pandemic and our battle to combat climate change and so on. Anybody who wants to, who is interested at all in energy, will find a home here. It's still written with the same kind of panache and elan of a good FT article, still has the same authority, still talks to the same kind of sources, still goes after the same big topics, still has the same sweep and can speak to a global audience about the topics. It just happens to be that in this case, there's more of it, and there's more more about energy, and it's all an energy source.